there's not much happening, is there? I suspect that's all because there are preparations for the summer event. And somehow, whatever that event might become, it is already shaping people's expectations. But expectations is also exactly what people had, because it has been a year since the last Hall of Legends. And so unfortunately, let's dive into some skin drama again. First of all, let's start with the one thing you might have seen around the internet, because there were some alleged leaks. Now, normally we wouldn't really be covering leaks like these on this channel, especially if they could be linked to content that we would get. But as far as we know, this one doesn't really have a solid base. It seems like these leaks came out of nowhere and they are vaguely fitting what might be coming. And so, as a result, of course, people are majorly freaking out. And so, very hypothetically, a spoiler alert for a potential leak of a potential skin line. But as part of the Act 2 of the Spirit Blossom season, allegedly, Riot might be giving us a fan service skin line. One that is all about pools and hot tubs. Now, what's really interesting is that if you have a look at League, this would actually be the first time Riot would do something like this. At least, with League, we'll get to that in a moment. In League, anytime anything feels like a fan service, it is really well hidden. I mean, gone are the days we would get jokes such as Janna's hotline joke. The freakish thing about that is that today's youth have no idea what that even is. And so for Riot to suddenly do a skin line about hot tubs? Well, to many players that felt like a step towards desperation. I mean, there is that one ancient League of Legends joke where, in case of emergency, break the glass, and there is just pool party Ahri. Well, now there is a chance that that ancient joke might become reality. Because allegedly, one of these hot tub skins will be for Ahri. The thing is, this Ahri skin should also be the legendary skin of this skin line. And she is supposed to be wearing nothing but a towel. And this is where people realized this leak is kinda weird. Because sure, a hot tub skin line, that is something Riot would do. Sure, a legendary skin for Ahri, that is something Riot would do. But to also give her nothing but a towel? I'm not sure about that. Because now we are getting into a place where Riot hasn't been before. Not to mention, they are constantly fighting with age ratings. I mean, recently they tried to make Gragas not drunk anymore, so after all of that, to have a near-naked Ahri on the Rift might prove to be a challenge. Which is why many players believe that this skin line is possible, especially since Riot confirmed they don't want to shove more and more champions into a season theme if it doesn't make sense, meaning that there's only so many Spirit Blossom skins they can make, so they should be going for an alternative skin line for the season. But with that said, now we can go back to the one thing we skipped. You see, with Pool Party Ahri avoiding League of Legends since its inception, outside of League, Riot has already made this skin. For 2xKO. There they leaned into the meme and they gave 2xKO an exclusive skin which League players always wanted to see. So Riot isn't really against the idea of such a skin. Just maybe not with Ahri wearing nothing but a towel. But that also comes in with one more twist. Sure, this is a leak, and sure, there might not be much backing this up. But there is one thing that is backing this up, and that is the lore. You see, in the journals of Eduard Santangelo, which is an explorer who explored Ionia for all of its wonders, he did get to see a near-naked Ahri. So you know what? It would be hilarious if that skin became the canonical version of that scene from the lore that we know. Anyway, let's get away from this tempting topic and let's have a look at the other thing that also has drama. Well, that is all based around the reality that it is almost June. And so, the next Hall of Legends has been revealed. In fact, we already know who the player is, and from some articles we also know about the champions. And of course, all of this also had to have drama. So in case you forgot, Hall of Legends became known for its $500 Ahri skin. Naturally, this is where the community fired back a massive backlash. And that's simply because, from the perspective of a customer, that is still a $500 cosmetic microtransaction. One that doesn't feel so micro anymore. So yes, there is not much to be said that could excuse that. But the truth is that this faker skin, despite the price, made a lot of money. Well, maybe that happened because of the price. And those numbers were floating around different articles the entire time. And so, whenever there is success, there's gonna be more of it. And only last week, Riot revealed that the next player joining the Hall of Legends will be Uzi. Now, here's the thing. I think this is a really good pick, because even I know who Uzi is. And we're talking about someone who's not really paying attention to esports that much. And that is Riot's point, despite what people may think. They need players that people recognize from pro play. And during his peak, Uzi has been synonymous with the best AD carry in the world. And as people pointed out, since Faker's Ahri was massively popular in Korea, simply picking Uzi also has massive marketing potential. Now, as far as I know, Uzi has always been known for his Vayne. And so, justifiably, people thought that we were about to get another $500 skin, but this time it would be Vayne. But that is where a really hilarious twist comes in. You see, when Faker was getting his skin, people knew that Ahri wasn't really the champion Faker was known for. Faker always had a legendary Ryze, Azir, or even Zed. Ahri was kinda the filler champion he was really good at whenever he was targeted with the bans. But still, that ended up being the champion that got Faker's skin. Why? Well, that is really simple. Ahri is far more popular compared to someone like Ryze or Azir. I mean, can you imagine Faker getting an Azir skin? How many of those would have sold at the $500 skin price? So getting Ahri instead, because she was popular, was kinda the point. Now, when it comes to Uzi and Vayne, it is true that Vayne is quite a popular champion, but she is not anywhere near the popularity she once had. In fact, her popular spot has been taken by some other AD carries that are newer. So instead of Uzi getting the Vayne, which is what everyone expected, according to some articles talking about the Hall of Legends, Uzi should be getting a skin for Kai'Sa. Which is likely because Kai'Sa is one of the most popular AD carries in the game, with her also dabbling in the mid lane, where in casual play she's also very popular. So of course, there is the likelihood that this skin is gonna sell more. And just like how in the past Faker also got the LeBlanc skin, Uzi should be at least getting the Vayne skin inside the Battle Pass. And hilariously enough, that's not really where the drama ends. On this topic, people just mostly laughed about the fact that he's not getting a Vayne skin. The thing that followed this, however, is a bunch of people posting about Uzi not deserving his spot in Hall of Legends. And to be fair, this is something I don't really see into. I'm not really in the picture when it comes to what esports pro players are the most popular at the moment. And so, in their defense, people bring up a lot of stats. And yes, according to the stats, Uzi doesn't have the number of titles that some other players do. Which is why people theorize that he's gonna get a really cool title. And so, just like Faker became the unkillable Demon King, it seems like Uzi might become the Uncrowned King. Which sounds like a really cool RPG villain. But the truth is, despite him not having as many titles, Uzi has been far more influential than all the other people. If you connect this with the fact that Riot wants to be swapping lanes with every one of these skins, meaning that they can't just shove in Showmaker because that would be another mid laner, and so you may realize that Uzi actually makes perfect sense. It is the second most popular lane after mid lane, it is a legendary player in his role, and he's getting a skin for a champion he might not be iconic for, but it's a really popular champion. And so all the stars align towards this being another financial success. But thankfully, despite many people wanting other players to be in the Hall of Legends, all the posts about Uzi not deserving it are getting downvoted. Which is why, after this, people started wondering what other players could join the Hall of Legends. Is it possible that next time we are getting a Western player? If so, who is it gonna be? No, I'm serious, people are actually getting confused. And that is the current skin situation. It all started with a potential leak that may or may not be real, we have no idea, where Ahri is getting a new legendary skin. Which might be on demand. I mean, it makes sense, the last one she got was last year and we know what that was. And after that, we get another entry into the Hall of Legends. And so, if we want to predict what champion might be getting a skin after that, well, we just have to look at a different lane and have a look at the most popular champion there. Oh no.